Before this video starts, I want to disclaim if my audio sounds just like a little bit off, my cat had a snack. If you have any form of social media, the past 2 weeks you've most definitely gotten hit after hit about the horrors of Nickelodeon. It's safe to say that if your childhood wasn't already ruined before, now it is. I've actually teased in previous videos about how disgusting Nickelodeon can be and the disgusting nature of Dan Schneider. If you think Dan Schneider is an okay guy, you were dropped on the head as a baby. There's a lot to unpack about how dark Nickelodeon gets. The pornographic underlines underage drinking on sets, encouraged bullying, hush money, SA victims. So there's a phrase that has been thrown around for quite some time now, but it's been resurfacing heavily since Quiet on Set. That quote being, "They gave up their childhood so we could have one." And it's true. Extremely sad and unfortunate, but true. Some of these kids started working for Nickelodeon straight from consciousness, immediately jumping into long work days and providing for their family. And naturally, there's a big power dynamic when it comes to kids and adults. So it's easy to assume that, yeah, there's gonna be some issues on set, but no one really imagined how horrible these issues could get. Kids are dumb, but they're not that dumb. And many of these kids were smart enough to know that work would be easier if they stayed quiet on set. That's a real healthy work environment, right? It wasn't just kids though that had negative experiences with Nickelodeon. Fear was struck on many, women and kids mostly, but the evil energy that loomed over production of these TV shows is something that I am so happy is being exposed, as it has been shoved under the radar for far too long. If you haven't heard of Quiet on Set, I'll give you a little quick description. Quiet on Set is a series of 4 episodes exposing Dan Schneider, his involvement with Amanda Bynes, his discrimination and abuse towards women in the workplace, predators on set, racial discrimination on set, power dynamics, and so much more. This documentary is what I believe to be the beginning stages of the downfall of Nickelodeon. Before we get too deep into the video and the vibes kind of change and we start to get a little dark, I want to talk about the sponsor of today's video. Hey, it's me. Sponsor Allie. I feel like a lot of people's financial stress is sky high right now because of it being tax season. I know mine are. I actually mean it. My eyes are like watering right now. All of my taxes are 1099. I'm not doing well. So I'm definitely gonna be budgeting the next few months. Finances in general are just intimidating. A lot of us watching are young adults and it's scary, man. I feel like we deserve more credit, but since starting to use Dave, it has made and will continue making managing money so much easier. It's so nice for budgeting and letting you know what you have maybe left to spend after paying all the bills you have. And it's also really, really nice to know that if I'm ever short on cash, I can take an advance with no credit check and no late fees, which is amazing. So what exactly is Dave? Dave is the banking app that is leveling the financial playing field. When you download Dave, you can get up to $500 in 5 minutes or less. No credit check and no late fees. It's part of Dave's Extra Cash account where you can advance the money that you need with no interest and you can settle up later. Extra Cash gives you more money to buy groceries, fill up the tank, maybe pay your rent, all without having to wait for your next paycheck. In fact, Dave has helped its members avoid over $2.5 billion in overdraft fees since 2017. That's a lot of money. So if you're maybe in a pinch right now, get the assistance that you need by downloading Dave. You can download Dave today at dave.com/AllieTricasso. That is dave.com/AllieTricasso, where you can get up to $500 in 5 minutes or less when you download. Again, with no credit check and no late fees. So yeah, try downloading that Dave app at dave.com/AllieTricasso. For terms and conditions, go to dave.com/legal. Eligibility criteria and instant transfer fees apply. Banking services provided by Evolve, member FDIC. And then I'm so sorry, but one last thing. I actually made a second channel, which will be linked in the description below, where I'm gonna make a lot more casual, fun content, specifically vlogs, because I really like vlogs. And yeah, feel free to go subscribe to that down there. And I'm so sorry, I also made a cameo, so if you have ever been interested in having like a little private video with me or chatting with me or whatever you'd like to do, I will put my cameo as well in the description below. Okay, thank you. Now let's get on with the video. One thing that pretty much everyone, even before this Quiet on Set documentary came out, is that Dan Schneider is a creep that messed up a lot of these childhood stars' lives. The number one thing that I've gathered since hearing people talk about Dan Schneider is that you were either on his good side or his bad side. And if you were on his bad side, you weren't really staying around for long anyways. He created a huge power dynamic that only got worse as the years went on because success can do evil things. Something that really shocked me, but I guess shocked isn't exactly the right word because it's not like I didn't expect it, was his blatant discrimination towards women in the workplace. The documentary really highlighted this, bringing in two women who directly worked with Dan on The Amanda Show, which was his first big project, who exposed that these two women were paid for the work of one man. Dan would express that he doesn't think women are funny and would hypersexualize these two immensely. Dan actually claims that he had no part in their split salary, but I guess a lot of people just have a hard time believing that because of how much power he had at Nickelodeon, even at that time with his first project. It was also brought to light that Dan and other crewmates often favored the white children on set, making it very obvious that he preferred them and gave them different treatment. This has led to years of trauma towards the kids that experienced it firsthand. So if his creepiness wasn't enough to make you despise this man, this should do it. We should all be on the same page at this point, all right? I have vaguely talked about it in the past, but I actually used to work on production for about two and a half years. I did assistant work, makeup, wardrobe, props, and I do really mean it when I say that the upper hand completely sets the tone of your work days. Specifically on set, of course. I've been on sets where crew members just put their head down because if they say something wrong, the next day you're out. I've been on sets where I've seen workers get screamed at by some egotistical man, and it's ass. It is absolutely draining and creates a horrible work environment. It makes it so you don't want to get up at 5 a.m. for your 12 to 16 hour work day that's ahead of you. And that is exactly how people felt about Dan Schneider.
Was anyone able to say anything, or was that like,
oh, no, it's Dan's baby.
and even if he and the network were at odds, he had the power to push back. It was very hard to say anything to him.
There are claims that he would yell on set, speak up and you're out. He would scare actors constantly, would be touchy and demand massages from women just trying to do their job, and slam writers' ideas to the ground. The vibe on set would immediately change when Dan walked onto it, as everyone would have to basically step on eggshells in hopes of not getting on his bad side. The biggest production that I worked on was for a Lifetime Christmas movie, and I'll never forget getting yelled at by the producer. It's terrifying, to say the least, as all you can think about in this moment is, wow, this person has so much power over me. If he snaps his fingers, I'm gone and replaced in seconds. And the rest of set, I was pretty much treated like garbage. It was so bad that I actually quit this production early. The only time I've ever done that. So I can only imagine the pressure of having something happen like that on a set like Nickelodeon, especially from a name like Dan Schneider, who could literally ruin your entire career if you just sneezed wrong. Something that always really stuck out to me though when it came to Dan was the little vlogs he would do behind the scenes. And it's just the way that the actors would look so uncomfortable with each clip, their body language showing it all. And I think it would really show in the Victorious vlogs, where you can clearly see Liz Giles, who plays Jade, telling Ariana to get up because Dan would be making his way to them, or in this scene where she just completely turns her back to him because she just doesn't want to be a part of his game. And it's just so disappointing to see these kids' reactions to somebody who they're supposed to really trust. And Dan has actually already responded to this documentary. The man is not happy. Naturally. And very quickly at that, he definitely knew that this was coming out and already had it prepared. He was interviewed by Tebow from iCarly, which is also just super weird. And there's such a disingenuous tone to it all. It feels so robotic and unremorseful, like he's just trying to say what he thinks people want to hear.
Most TV writers, comedy writers have been in writers' rooms and they are aware that a lot of times there are inappropriate jokes made and inappropriate topics come up. But the fact that I participated in that, especially when I was leading the room, it embarrasses me. I shouldn't have done it.
And I haven't seen one positive comment about this little interview. If anything, everyone's calling him out. And as many of you guys already know, Dan would make these actors do very strange things for camera.
A kid's show should be exactly what it is, a kid's show. And sometimes there were scenes where there was a prop that was like,
what's he doing?
That could be a sexual innuendo.
Those are good ones.
What is seen as extremely inappropriate and embarrassing for a kid at a young age to be doing, just at the expense of keeping your job. But that also needs its own segment. Even before Quiet on Set, there were still plenty of people pointing out the odd innuendos and behaviors that went on these Nickelodeon shows. The amount of feet shoved in the viewers' faces, sexual implications, wardrobe decisions, and just how some of the scenes were written in general. iCarly and Zoe 101 got a lot of this, but in my opinion, I think Victorious got it the worst. It is just so obvious how much Dan wanted to push the limit with these actors. Making Victoria Justice get her feet covered with ketchup for a little social media clip, adding sexual taglines to the ending of the episodes.
I heard you swallow.
Here comes that feeling.
Sometimes I do it to myself.
I can't take it anymore.
What about your spicy tuna balls? Is this gonna hurt?
Probably.
I would consider doing that.
Ooh, it's all tingly.
Beg me.
I'm a bad boy, aren't I?
It's average.
What are you into? But it hurts!
How bad do you want this?
Can I hold it?
No, I don't want to see that thing again. Put it away.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
You do it way more gentle than my mom does it.
Whatever this is. And Ariana was definitely a large target for this as well. There would be video blogs uploaded to the slap.com, which was a real website that stemmed from a website that was actually a part of the show. And there is such an eerie vibe to these videos, knowing that she is presenting a young, innocent teenage high schooler on her bed, filming these videos of her doing not so innocent activities, yet they are innocent. And I just find it really hard to believe that the adults on set didn't understand what was going on. It is absolutely sick, and I feel horrible that Ariana had to be put through that. Jennette McCurdy, who was a star in iCarly, in her book, I'm Glad My Mom Died, was an actress that never took the hush money, stating that she could have gotten $300,000, states this.
I want to say something, to tell him to stop, but I'm so scared of offending him. Come on, take a sip. No thanks. Come on. I've never had alcohol before, and I'm only 18. Couldn't I get in trouble? The Victorious kids get drunk together all the time. The iCarly kids are so wholesome. We need to give you guys a little edge.
And Avon, who played Beck in Victorious, has even stated that he was so drunk all the time that he doesn't even remember filming it at all. And these actors were underaged. So iCarly was always seen as the good kids, as Jennette insinuated. And the creator always wanted to bring that Victorious edge over to that set. But although Victorious had that edge that we're talking about, you can really tell that they don't like Dan at all in any of these clips.
Actually, that's not why we're changing your shirt. We're changing the progression of days. But I can't wait to see your new shirt. Is everyone excited about Vic's new shirt? I'm excited! They are. Did you just bark?
No, I did not.
And then we have someone giving me the cold shoulder, as always, ignoring me. Oh, look who it is.
Let's please give it up for our director, Mr. Adam Weissman, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, the man holding the camera, that's our executive producer, Mr. Dan Schneider, everybody!
You can definitely see this vibe in the iCarly vlogs as well, though.
Did you like it?
I loved it.
What'd you think, Jennette? Oh, man.
I promised my mom.
Okay.
Right. So
How much attention does Jennette need?
I was trying to
What?
if I stand up and I say no,
Why are you people all yellow?
Especially Jerry Trainer, who played Spencer on iCarly.
Let us go home, Dan.
Hi, cuteness. Hi, cuteness. Hey, you weird.
He provided a very comforting aura, which they really needed. They weren't getting it from Tebow. That's a fact. Which to mention, he has completely cut ties with Nickelodeon following the Quiet on Set documentary being released. I'm very sure that even actors who were very involved with Nickelodeon learned a lot from it. Maybe even just as much as we did as viewers. But when it comes to Zoe 101, we have less to go off of because Dan wasn't really into vlogging on that set. But we do know a lot that went on because of Alexa Nicholas, who was another actress that didn't take hush money from Nickelodeon and has built a platform herself on telling the experiences of how it was on Nickelodeon. And she even shows up on Quiet on Set. I actually talked a bit about Alexa's story in my childhood shows video that I made, oh God, like close to a year ago. I don't have a concept of time, so I'm gonna try to not repeat too much, although all of it very much so holds up here. She stated the observation that her character was strictly there for looks, forced to wear short skirts and short shorts, and quote, she called herself kid eye candy.
How about this top? You like this top? It makes me look chesty.
She made sure to mention in the documentary that Dan Schneider's shows commonly pop up on child pornography websites and has talked in the past that wasn't brought up in the documentary that Dan used to always have to be there for her wardrobe fittings and would always ask for the Polaroids of the outfit afterwards.
Whenever I had wardrobe fittings, he always had to be in them. And yeah, sit in the chair and I would come out and I would do a spin and then he would look at the wardrobe artist and say, can I have the Polaroids?
Something that I again referenced in my childhood shows video that was also mentioned in the documentary was a specific scene that Alexa brought up. She refers to it as the backpack scene, where there is a very clear innuendo of a shot on Jamie Spears' face. And she even heard others in the room acknowledge what it was, while laughing. And here's the thing, Russell Hicks, who is higher up on Nickelodeon, has stated this in the past. Everything that happened on the shows Dan ran was carefully scrutinized by dozens of involved adults and approved by the network. If there was an actual problem with the scenes that some people now years are later sexualizing, they would be taken down, but they're not. They are aired constantly all over the world today still, enjoyed by both kids and parents. But I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair to state at all, because we've made it very clear that Dan had such an upper hand in what happened in these shows and crafted an environment where if you said something that disagreed with him, there'd be issues and you'd regret it. No child should be having liquids sprayed onto their face for a shot. Call me fucking crazy for saying that, I guess, but and I have seen comments of people being like, you guys are reaching so far, like, why do you have to be so dirty about it, blah 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 blah. And I could not disagree more, actually. And it's just the way that I could keep talking about all of the disturbing scenes and natures and vibes that have gone on for however many years on Nickelodeon, but we'd be here for a long time. And I can already tell this is gonna be a long one. So yeah, I'm gonna cut it off there because we still have a long way to go. But if at this point you still are not seeing a clear issue, we're not the same, first of all. Second of all, get help, go to therapy, figure out why you feel that way because you're wrong, very wrong, actually. I know I have given an overall trigger warning for this video, but there needs to be like a verbal trigger warning for honestly the rest of this video, which is kind of why I left the darkest of the dark parts for the end so that if you can decide what you'd like to do. And also there will be very heavy censoring too, so that if people want to watch up to here, just hearing words just suck. When people think of on Nickelodeon, Dan Schneider comes to mind for many, but there's actually a lot more to that, and people who have actually been convicted, charged, and proven guilty, which has not happened to Dan Schneider in the past. 3 of them were brought to light in this documentary: Brian Peck, Jason Handy, and Ezell Channel. Brian Peck being the one that has been getting the most headlines, as he had been the sexual abuser of Nickelodeon star Drake Bell, who was most known for his role on Drake and Josh. Jason Handy, who was a former PA on Nick's sets, who got caught sending lewd messages and photos to an 11-year-old actress through email, even going to the home of a 9-year-old and making moves on her in the bedroom, and even had a journal expressing his desires to the young girls, even calling himself a pedophile. After serving his time, he was then charged again for a different case, and it has kept him in prison still to this day. Thank fucking God. And Ezell Channel, who was also a PA and had been charged with molesting 2 minors, 11 and 14. There are 3 other cases that actually weren't brought up in Quiet on Set, which is kind of shocking to me, but I want to tell you about them now. Justin Smith, Cody Longo, and Martin Weiss. Justin Smith is actually a pretty unique case in this sense, as it actually had involvement with Chris Hansen, who runs the show To Catch a Predator. Justin was a video editor for Nickelodeon, and in 2006 was caught on the show trying to have sex with a minor he believed to be 13 years old, this occurring while he was working at Nickelodeon. Martin Weiss was a talent manager who worked with kids to find them roles on Nickelodeon and was convicted of sexual acts with a 12-year-old, and another client expressed that this had happened to him 30 to 40 times when he was around 11, all for him to only serve 6 months in jail. Nice job, justice system. You're doing a great fucking job. I wish that these names were also said in the Quiet on Set documentary so more people would know who they were. And lastly, Cody Longo, who was actually talent on a Teen Nick show called Hollywood Heights and was arrested for essaying a 9-year-old. My energy is severely dropped. I'm so sorry. I genuinely mean it when this has made me, it was frustrating writing it, of course, and researching it, but saying it out loud is just fucked. What I think is the saddest part of it all is how this has happened to so many other children in general, but from this network and other networks who will never have a chance to tell their story. They either can't because of hush money, for the fear of their careers, or just because they feel like they don't know if they'll ever be ready to do so. They feel like they can't. It's insane that you'd think that there is common sense that there should be massive safety procedures for children on a production set and for these kids that are constantly surrounded by adults. But disappointingly so, that's not the case. Sets are still not safe for children. Hollywood has been, is, and likely will forever be a predatory industry. Is there any solution? I hope so. I really, really do. It's just so many people's hands are dirty at this point. I think applying therapy and wellness checks is honestly something that would be extremely, extremely beneficial and might be a step in the right direction towards catching something early if maybe a kid is being preyed upon. And not only that, but the mental toll that many of these kids experience, who are working extremely long hours and basically having their childhood completely stripped away from them. There's a reason why these childhood stars struggle as they become adults, why they might rely on substance abuse or get wrapped up in a harmful environment. I honestly think it's crazy that some sort of wellness check or therapy isn't demanded for these stars. One last thing I wanted to bring up before we move on to the next section, and that is, so you remember that Brian Peck guy? Absolute monster. After his case and everything and pleaded guilty, he went to go work for Disney. Yeah. So Disney, you're not fucking safe here, all right? Fuck you. As celebrities continue to tell their stories, I really hope that people can continue supporting them through that terrifying and vulnerable experience. And there's nothing that we can do about the past, but I hope that these predators can keep getting exposed so that it fucks up their future and anything cool they might have coming their way, because they don't deserve it whatsoever. I really hope that more monsters one day will be held accountable, and that one day the Hollywood industry doesn't have to be seen as so evil, that workers can walk onto set and be like, today's gonna be a good day at work and I am safe. Like, you'd think that's how it should be now, but it's not. And I genuinely just hope that the more people get exposed, the safer the industry becomes. I know I talked about a lot of triggering topics, and I apologize for that. Hopefully next week I can have something that's a little bit less dark, because this was heavy. Like, by the end of it right now, I just feel so like down in a way. Like, I'm very happy that I'm using my platform to tell people's stories and expose these names and talk about the bad in the world, but yeah, I don't know. It can just be hard, I guess, and I hope that this video was still enjoyable, even though we talked about a lot of dark things. And yeah, if you liked this video, please make sure to like and subscribe, as well as check out my second channel that I mentioned earlier in the video, and also my Cameo if you're interested in getting a little video from me. And yeah, my socials, all my socials will be actually down there, so works out. But yeah, I will see you guys pretty soon. Okay, bye. See ya. Be safe. Take care of yourself. And yeah, be safe and take care of yourself. Bye.